This is Moshe coming to you from Israel, the land of the Galilee. Yeah, it's North Israel. It's Shabbat, Saturday, 15th of March, and it's 9:20 in the morning, and it's going to be pretty hot today. 74, 75 already, high of 88 degrees. Tomorrow, 89. And they're reducing their threats of rain. They had the rain coming for 3 days yesterday. Now they're showing it for 1 day next Friday. They can't call it that far out, I don't think. They're not prophets. They're not weather prophets. They're weathermen with analytical instruments that make predictions on computer models. That's all they are. But I think that within 24 to 48 hours in the future, they could be pretty good at it, you know? Unless the Lord changes it, then it falls apart. So we are scheduled for a cold streak, but they've rescinded that too. Um, they're showing us on Thursday dropping to a high of 64 and a low of 51. Okay. Then they're showing on Friday, the rain day, a high of 59, a low of 48. Then the next day, 47 and then 65, and then 48 and 67, then goes back into the 70s. So what happened is either we caught a hot wave for a few days, which is probably what happened, and now we're resuming more of a normal spring. But are we really still in summer, or perhaps we're in summer and we're just catching a cold streak? See, it's a little bit perplexing to figure it out. But God's in control, and that's that. Okay. So today I'm going to touch on the news, but not a lot to talk about. 5.6 earthquake in Mexico. That's a moderate earthquake. It's not huge. My opinion, the hugest start in the sevens. The big ones are in the sevens. The real big ones, catastrophic, usually start in the eights. Um, the fives can cause damage in third world countries. That's, I would say, for sure. But I don't know what happened yet with Mexico. I just picked it up. And, earthquake frequency of moderate or substantial earthquakes does seem to be on the rise, as is fires. There was another fire they picked up in America. I forgot where yesterday. I think I covered it. They had 3,000 acres burned and 30% containment. So I don't think it's on its way to catastrophe land, but 3,000 acres is significant. We're not seeing cities burn in any large amount. Occasionally a building catches fire, but it's been doing that for, hundreds of years. So we're going to cover the Great Exodus today as much as I could get through. And we'll, have some interesting doctrines pop up, I'm sure, because I already prepared. Not doctrines, interesting verses that show us things about prophecy. And boy, the herd here is short-sinned when I'm getting ugly with them about the churches. They don't like that. So this is probably, as we're getting closer to the culmination of the year of recompenses, um, this could be, what it's supposed to be doing. if any of you are having trouble sending offerings to PayPal, please let me know and tell me what they told you, because it's very hard to tell. A lot of people try to send something on PayPal and they can't get through, and then they go to GoFundMe or something, My wife found another payment processor that's actually in Israel, I believe, or maybe not, but they work with Israel and they accept credit cards pretty easily. She tested it, it seems to work. So in the next couple of days, I'll start putting that up also and see how it goes. I don't know yet. She's pretty satisfied with it, so I'll also add that in. Of course, there's been a substantial amount of people that over the years have had trouble with PayPal. Um, some people also use Amazon gift cards. If you're having trouble and you want to do that, I can explain to you how to do it. Just send me an email. It's very simple. It's actually, you don't even know. You just take my email address, which is in the last line down in the description box. It's Israel Giving with the number 7 at Gmail. Israel Giving, one word with the digit 7 at Gmail. Israel is spelled AE. Israel Giving, one word with the number 7 at Gmail. And just send a gift card to that address, and it seems to work flawlessly. And I haven't had anybody ever tell me they had trouble with that. And we're always buying stuff in Amazon because we don't buy a lot of things in Israel. If you make an order under $75 or at $75, I think if you go $75.01, they charge you 17% tax in Israel. But if it's $75, they don't. And I think you need $50 or 49 with Amazon to get free shipping. So if I want to just go to the post office, I basically don't have to pay the tax, which I would in Israel, and I don't have to pay for the shipping. But usually we use the DHL or the UPS because it's much easier than with my wife in recovery and, than schlepping up to the post office and, standing in line and, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that you don't have to pay the taxes. So anyway, that's what we do. If you go to the store here and you're going to go 5 miles each way and you're paying about $9 a gallon for gasoline, right? And you're going to run the AC, you're going to probably burn, with the traffic and stuff and go probably 1.5 or 2 gallons of gas, you know. Then you got to go to the store. It's we're old. Okay, so we're going to cover that, and we're going to do the Great Exodus, and so it's going to be predominantly a Bible study. So I'm going to go into the live stream and make sure we got a live stream and put my posts up and um, the best for me is PayPal because I could get the funds in Israel quick and easy. That's the best, really. Okay. Let me get my posts up and we'll get going. There's not a lot of current events going on. There's no ceasefires anywhere. All the tensions are still there. And let me get my email address up here. Okay. Oh, let me double check. Hold on. Yep. All right. I'm going to do some praise, being a Bible believing site. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. So, no ceasefire. Russia's going to go attempt to plow down Ukraine. I'm not so sure they can. Um, Trump tells Putin, well, don't kill all those Ukraine soldiers, and Putin says, yeah, okay. You know, um, I haven't seen Russia really win the war. Now they're saying Russia is advancing on the territory they're holding in Ukraine day by day, and I expect that's probably true. But Ukraine keeps hitting their oil refineries, probably 3, 4 times, 5 times a week. That's not a sign of Russia being so confident. It means they can't stop the drones and the missiles, and maybe even the jets that Ukraine has. So, what Russia's likely going to do is deploy a large amount of heavy bombers and start destroying Ukraine. But he's got to be careful because Ukraine has missiles that might damage Russia. And America has resumed the flow of weapons, and Europe is keeping it going. And they're basically bracing for war. They're building up their military resources, which is leading us to Jeremiah 30, verse 11. And it's very difficult to see exactly what percentage of that is going to be from war, what is going to come from the continuing whirlwind of the Lord, and what's going to come from the Lord putting fire down on them. So it's very difficult. We know Elam, which is minimally southwest Iran, so it's in Iran. So that means Iran's affected. They're not going to just say, well, okay, you could have southwestern Iran and blow it up. I don't think that'll happen. So all of Iran gets destroyed, and the people get scattered into all the nations of the world where the sword chases them and they die. And that's in Jeremiah 49, and it is unfulfilled. Some historians feel that Elam includes pieces of Iraq and Syria, which it may very well be the case. Okay? And we also read of the destruction of Assyria, Assyria, which is Iran, probably includes also Iraq and pieces of Syria. And we know Syria is going to, Damascus, the capital, will be a ruinous heap. The Kurds did make a deal with the new HTS government in Syria to get a piece of land and join the ranks of the HTS government, so they'll dedicate their militia to HTS, which will help them in strength. They're still persecuting the Alawites. Nobody is talking too much about that. It's brutal, it's bloody. They're murdering children, women, men. They're getting people that are from the Bashar Assad government and killing them. They're running Christians out of their houses. They're killing some, but I don't think it's pronounced at this point. But they're talking, not the official leaders, but others are talking about getting the Christians. Okay. But they are looting their houses, running them out of their houses, getting rid of them, running them out of villages and towns. They're persecuting these are churchianity Christians, and they're persecuting them very heavily, but they're not massacring them like the Alawites. The UN, Putin and Trump went to the UN, and the UN said, they wrote a statement. oh, we condemn what you're doing. A lot of nonsense. Um, I doubt they're going to go in and do anything about it. I think the only result of their, commentary from the UN is that the HTS may try to keep it quiet, but there's 2.4 million Alawites, and some people have said they've gotten up to counting 15,000 dead and 17,000 missing. They got 32,000, and that number's a few days old. So that's probably a more realistic figure. A Telegram channel had people from Syria post their friends and relatives and loved ones that got killed, and they added it up, and they got 15,000 dead and 17,000 unaccounted for, which is likely dead, and they got rid of the bodies. They were throwing bodies off cliffs into the sea, and things like this. It's hard to really figure out how many have been killed. Most of the media is talking in terms of 1,000 or 2,000, and that is, we don't know. People are still running around with rumors all over social media about what Social Security stimulus checks are going to be like, and stimulus checks not just for Social Security recipients. And the numbers are all over the place, and I really don't think anything's been finalized. So, do I think they're going to do something like this? I do. Do I think they'll do it in March? Likely. What about amounts? Well, we've heard as low as $600, $700, and as high as I think 8,000, or at least 5 or 6,000. So I don't know. I would say probably $2,000 would probably be a pretty good stimulus to shove up the American economy. Trump is not backing off on the tariffs. He's saying he's going to double some of them now. He's really going big time. You hear Putin speak, he's very calm and very deliberate as to what he says. And Trump flies off the handle at times, and then he has to backtrack. The Hamas came up with a lame offer to Israel and America. They sent it to Witkoff, I think his name is, the hostage negotiator from America. They said they would release one living hostage who was an American, maybe not an Israeli American, maybe just an American. I don't know. I really don't know. And several dead bodies in return for some kind of ceasefire, but they wanted an amazingly high amount of terrorist prisoners being released from the jail. And Netanyahu said no. And Witkoff said no. They both agreed that it was an idiotic proposal and they're not interested. And I'm sure there were other conditions in there. So Hamas is facing Gaza without electricity, Gaza without humanitarian aid, probably a week now, anyway, about a week. Not electricity, I think. Yeah, I think for both, maybe more than a week on humanitarian aid. I think it might be 8, 9 days now. And nobody's starving yet, but it's getting them uncomfortable, we might say. They're not happy about this, okay? Hamas has enough water in bottles and food stashed for our intelligence service says 6 months. When you have no electricity, the water desalinating plants are not operating, so they're going to start running out of drinking water. Um, and communications go off. You lose your internet and your phones and all that as the power's off. So we approached three countries, America and Israel, to take in the Palestinian civilian population. They were East Africa countries. We only know one of the countries now, which is Somalia, that said they would never do anything like this. The land belongs to the Gazans, and they're not a party to anything where we're going to remove them out of Gaza, so they declined. That leaves two other unnamed countries in East Africa, and I don't know who they are. Egypt, of course, declined. So what does it leave us with? I don't know. Sudan, I doubt would take them. Eritrea, I don't know. Djibouti, I don't know. Somalia's a no. You know, Ethiopia, I don't know. Maybe Kenya and Uganda, but I don't know if you could call them East Africa, I suppose, yeah. I don't know if it's them. I, you got me, I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not optimistic, and I don't see anything in prophecy where they're being removed out of Gaza. So I would say that there's no chance. I'm going 100%. I don't see any chance of this coming to pass. It's not in the Bible. Moving 2 million Gazans to another country, I'm sure, would pop up because several Bible chapters, well, not the whole chapter, but there's a lot of verses talking about what happens to the Philistines and Gaza. And I don't need that at all. So, anywhere. Not even by implication or close. It's just not in the Bible, so I'd forget it. Trump is probably going to come off of it too, but I think Israel and Trump are going to cling to getting Hamas out of there, 20,000. So, as a demand, and of course they're not interested. Every time they open their mouth, they say, we're not demilitarizing, we're remaining in Gaza, you know, and all of this stuff. So if they're not demilitarizing and they're going to stay in Gaza, they're in control. Okay. So when is Israel going to attack them? I don't know. It might be Israel's waiting for Ramadan to blow over, which is probably the last day of March, as a guess. Maybe even the 30th or the 31st. March has 31 days, I believe, doesn't it? And then I better check. I don't know. I'm senile. I don't know. We'll figure it out in a second, though. Yeah, 31. So I would say it's over in March. But you know what? Let's look up when it's over. Because I think that's what Netanyahu's waiting for. Of course, they heat up towards the last day. I mean, 1 week before Ramadan is over, they have a special additional holiday and they insert inside Ramadan, which is a very violent holiday historically. But last year and this year, not so much. I'll get the date. That's all. It's not going to be a big deal. Let's get it in a few seconds. Oh, it's March 29th. Okay. So we're at the 15th. So he's got 2 weeks. So is it realistic possibility that old Benji is going to stall between now and the 29th of March, or really, let's say the 30th of March? And while he's stalling for these 2 weeks, is it possible he's trying to pick up a few more hostages or something like that? Yeah, but Benji's not trying that hard anymore. So if they come up with a hostage deal, we'll give you 4 hostages and we want 493 terrorists released from prison. I don't think he'll go for it, but he probably will because the people want the. I don't know. But he might give him another 30 days. I don't know what he's going to do. He's a very weak man. I shouldn't say man. He's a very weak individual, and let's rephrase. Netanyahu's a very weak individual, and Netanyahu has 3 criminal cases on his head. They're in process, and he keeps ducking out of testifying and delaying the trial. Like he shows up at court, and then an aide comes in and says, "Oh, we got an emergency," and they tell the court he has to leave. And of course, it's a classified emergency, and he gets out of it. So he's just dragging his cases on. But by the way he's behaving, which is very scared of the courts and trying to dismantle the power of the courts, he's showing fear, big, heavy duty fear. And he does the wrong thing. He shouldn't have tried to fire the Attorney General a few days ago, which didn't come to pass, may still. And now a Shin Bet guy threatened him. Shin Bet's something like the FBI in Israel, but it's a domestic FBI / CIA / military intelligence. Well, it's not military intelligence. It's an intelligence service and an FBI service, but they don't really work on a lot of regular crimes like the FBI would. They're working on threats against the state, terrorism threats, what the terrorist organizations are doing and planning. So it's a blend of an FBI, CIA operating domestically. They don't go overseas. Oh, they might have a guy here or there in another country for liaison with the authorities or something, but they don't really operate overseas. Mossad doesn't operate heavily inside Israel, although I'm pretty sure they do when it comes to the terrorists. But in terms of people, so the Shin Bet and the Mossad are not going to work on burglars or car thefts or a random mugging or some just basic criminal crime that the police would work on. Okay, police have detectives and all that. Okay, so they don't go chasing uh, anything unless it's tied to terrorism. So they might go after drugs if it's tied to terrorists in large quantities, stuff like that. But for about a year, we were getting a lot of SMS messages. They were selling us what they were calling a medical bag, which is pot, marijuana, which is quasi legal here, but I believe you've got to go to a doctor and get a license to buy it, and I think you got to go to a drugstore to buy it or something. And it's very expensive, and the doctors normally they're going to give it to you for pain. I think. I know they'll also do it for anorexia if you can't eat. Um, I don't know a lot about it, but what it used to be, now they may have lifted this, but it was in the beginning that you had to have taken for several months the prescribed pain pills, like hydrocodone, oxycodone, and stuff like that. Who the heck wants to take that garbage? I suppose it were people that just went to the doctors and filled the prescriptions and flushed them down the toilet, just waiting it out for 6 months. But there's quite a few people that have these ID cards that let you buy the marijuana. So they were selling it to people via SMS message, and then they were, I don't know how they were sending it to your house, probably in the post or something like that. And you used to get these messages, almost every day, and I haven't seen a message in 3 months. So they shut it down, or what might have happened is the people were just going to the doctors and the waiting periods expired, and they're doing it like that. I don't know. But you can't go to a coffee shop and order, a joint of marijuana and smoke it. They don't have it that legal. Criminal penalties, I think the first two offenses are like fines, and then they put you in the system on the third offense. But I don't think it's heavily enforced. Um, and a lot of people are probably growing this stuff. We don't, but some people might. I have no desire to use the stuff. Um, I don't see it, but anyway. Um, so we're still getting occasional terrorist attacks in Israel, but to be honest with you, they're not really. They're upticked because of Ramadan, but not a lot. It's really been a relatively peaceful Ramadan, so maybe Netanyahu is um, actually good at this for some reason. I don't know. So it looks to me that he's going to try to make an end run to Ramadan and then resume the war. So to do that, if it's over on the 29th, I think he won't do anything till the 31st or the 1st of April. He's going to let a day or two go. The last day of Ramadan is a great big event for them. And about a week before it's over, the last Friday or something of Ramadan, something like that, last Thursday, I don't know, they have a rather big festival. So that's in about a week, roughly, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 days from now, something like that. And he probably doesn't want to see the war going on during that. But then after that, I think he's going to resume the war. And Hamas is not able to rebuild militarily, that's for sure, or we wouldn't be just treading water. And I don't know what is going on, other than that. Now, I have to leave room for um, Netanyahu bluffing the Muslim terrorists to make them think he's going to wait till the end of Ramadan, and he might start up any day now. I don't know. Does it appear that he's going to start reopening the war big time in Gaza? Yeah. Do I think that's not going to happen? No, I think it's going to happen. The Houthis have been defanged when America took out their radar just before they were going to resume the war against us and shipping in the Red Sea because of uh, the cutting off of humanitarian aid that Israel did in Gaza. So that never came to pass because without their radar, they can't really do anything. So they look fairly humiliated. You notice people don't come in here anymore and put Palestinian flags up and say free Palestine and all that. No, that dream fell away. They've let go of that apparently because I'm not seeing um, any of that anymore. Let me look at the live stream, see if we have questions or I have to censor something. It'll be quick. Did I ever research? I did years ago. I researched it thoroughly, And basically, eclipses have happened all through time. And what, and there are no profound events associated with them, and we're not supposed to do that. Okay. And when I think it's Revelation 12, where he sees the woman with the moon in her feet and the 12 stars and all that. See, that was a vision given to Apostle John, and it's never meant to repeat. It never says, when you see this again, know that the time is here. It's a one off event that was for him. And it was a vision, and it's not any, there's no reason to at all. It's illogical to think it's going to reproduce. Now comes the blood moon, okay, where the sun goes dark and the moon turns to blood. Well, you see, they make something out of nothing with these what's called harvest moons, which I've seen enough of them. The moon is rather close to the earth and it's rather large. And it looks, I wouldn't say shocking or frightening, but it looks rather spectacular because it's so big. But it's an amber wheat color, okay? It's not the color of blood. Blood would be like fire engine red or crimson red, right? It's not going to be like, yellowish color, which is what these moons are. And the blood moon is a one off event. There's only one occurrence of the blood moon in the Bible. It never happens after, never happens before. Okay? And it happens to be the sign of the appearing of the Son of Man in the clouds, not his return to earth. So I have pretty deeply looked into it, yes. Okay. Okay, I think we're good in there. So there is going to be a next great exodus, and let's go through it. And well, let me just check my notes and see if I left something out in the current events. Okay, we do have a prayer request for one of our people has a dog named Blue, like the color blue, like the sky is blue. That's the dog's name. The dog has problems with teeth, okay? So please pray for the dog named Blue to not have pain or suffering and God would heal his teeth. The dog named Blue, that the dog would not have pain or suffering or infection from the teeth problem and God would heal the teeth and the dog named Blue. Okay? We've prayed for this dog before. The dog has been healed, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure I am. One interesting question is, how is Elijah going to train the Levites? This has been with me for days now. Um, and we could get into this. I think it's interesting, right? Malachi 3. A lot of people don't know about this Malachi 3 and 4. Sadly, they should. It's quite prophetic. Behold, I will send my Malach, that's messenger. That's Malachi's real name, Malach, or Malachi, you could say, I guess. And it's a kind of play on words in a way. And it's kind of cute though. And he shall prepare the way before me. That's Elijah. And the Adonai whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Well, you could read him coming into the temple in Ezekiel 43, the next temple. Now, I say this very frequently, and I want to say it again so people do understand this. In your Bible, there's already been 3 temples, not counting the tabernacle with Moses. Okay? The first temple was Solomon's temple. The glory of God of Israel went in and anointed it with the glory cloud and then left. That's temple 1. Temple 2 is Zerubbabel's temple. You could read about this in Zechariah 4 and other places, and it did get completed. People in Google Images have pictures they've made of it because you get some detail. It was a least of the temples, you know. And then Herod had a temple. In the New Testament, we read of Herod's temple, and Yeshua referred to it like this. He said, "This is my father's house shall be a house of prayer," and he chased the money changers out with ropes because they were making merchandise of God's people. And there was a temple, so we've already had 3. I do not know why so many of these people preach that the next temple is the 3rd temple. If anybody could help me on this, I'd really like to hear it, unless it's he who loveth to make it alive. That's the best I could come up with, because, I mean, are they mocking people because they don't read their Bible and know there already were 3 temples? I don't understand why they do this. I really don't. But we've had 3. Next one's number 4. Like that song, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, bully, bully. I don't know if a lot of you are not old enough for that song, but yeah, Quattro, the 4th temple's the next one. That's a fact in the Bible. Suddenly comes to his temple, even the Malach, the messenger of the covenant, that's breathed covenant, whom you delight in. That's Malachi. That's Elijah, because the Israelites feel that Elijah will come and teach them Torah, and he will, and it'll probably start with who the Mashiach is. Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah. Folks, I would read that like this: Behold, he shall come. Like Charleston Heston, the head of the NRA, at one time when he was Moses, let my people go. I'm making a joke about Charleston Heston. Okay. But who may it not making a joke about God, Charleston Heston, and the motion picture company. Playful humor, Malachi 3:2. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. Well, a refiner's fire is hot, isn't it? And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. What does this mean? I mean, do we get purified like gold and silver and purged? We do. How does that work for us? Well, usually it's persecutions, right? Or chastening or punishment. Now, let's get a little more insight into this by going to Zechariah 13, verses 8 and 9, where the 2/3 of Israel get cut off, and that's exactly what it is. It's never been fulfilled, and it will shortly be fulfilled. And yes, I'm telling you this. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, that's in Hebrew, call Haaretz, all the land of Israel, saith Jehovah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. Well, they're dead, 2/3. But the third, that's the 1/3, the 33%, 33.3% or 33.33 times 3 would be 99.99. You got the idea, right? But the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire. That word is esh, it's fire. Fire is hot. And will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. Well, that does have a close connection to, Malachi 3. You know, I'm wondering about this, The government of Israel and the witches, the adulterers, the liars, the Satan bots, and all them are still around. And maybe they start persecuting the Levites, and I can't put that together. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would Elijah let them persecute his charges that he's training? He wouldn't. I don't believe he would. He wouldn't just sit back and say, "Oh, now you're persecuted. They'll whip you. They'll beat you. They'll take your house. They'll take what?" But that doesn't add up. How's that going to purify them to make the offerings acceptable unto Jehovah? I'm not getting there with this. Maybe the burning the dross out of them is his teaching. He's going to teach them the true gospel, not the Talmud or any of that stuff, or the Kabbalah or that nonsense, So I guess that's the only explanation. I thought I would share that with you, and if you guys got any other thoughts about it, I'm all ears. But I'm just not really getting how this is going to work with persecution. So I got an email. Somebody wants some course requests. Let's see. It's a Taurus request for GB, girl boy, GB, girl boy, and said YouTube channel. So Taurus, how do we toss the YouTube channel? Okay, Taurus request for GB and cancel the witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments that anyone ever picked up from GB's YouTube channel. That'll do it. That was a mouthful. We do get occasionally complex toss and prayer requests, but I do the best that I can to make them pretty down to earth and go from there. All right, so Exodus time. Let's go jump into Ezekiel 20, and we pick the Exodus up in verse 33 to the end of. That was wrong. I need 20, not 21. Okay, 20. And we pick it up in verse 33 to the end of the chapter. It's not a big amount of text. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. Like, this brings us back to Elijah. Who can stand when he appeareth? And with the stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you. And the bad ones get burned up in Malachi 4. And their ashes under your feet. The ones in the siege are not inside Israel. They wouldn't be ashes under your feet. A siege is a blockade type thing, not an invasion. So the bad ones get burned up. Ezekiel 34 gives you the details about that. They're enemies of Jehovah. And I will bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries, the lands is what it really says, where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. Now, I don't think he's pouring the fury out on the people he's taking out of there. But Moshe, do you have a scripture for that? Yeah, I do. You won't like it. Some of you will really like it. But let me remind you of this, and will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, scattered, with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. Jeremiah 46, verse 28. Hold on to your seatbelt. Fasten seatbelts. Fear thou not, Yaakov, my servant. That's the 12 tribes, Yaakov, or Jacob in English. Saith Jehovah, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven thee. That would be like scattered, wouldn't it? Yeah. But I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure. Yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. Well, Israel's definitely punished and getting punished and been getting punished since 48. Now we'll jump over to see it again in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. Again, some of you should fasten your seatbelts. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to save thee. It's salvation thee. The word is Yasha, it's salvation. Yeshua means giver or provider or source of salvation. Though I make a full end of all the nations whither I have scattered thee. Whoops, there's that word, scattered. Ooh. He makes a full end of all the heathen nations. He scattered. Now, the word is goyim, but it doesn't mean the heathen, the people. Because how does he scatter the Israelites into people? That doesn't work. It's the heathen, the nations, where he scattered us. Yet will I not make a full end of thee, and I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So, all the nations he scattered the Israelites into are going to be destroyed. Now, you have your seatbelts fastened. I suggest you put your crash helmet on for this one. Now, I am not doing dreams and visions and hunches. I am reading scriptures. Amos 9:9. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn sifted in a sieve, yet shall not the least grain fall from the earth. So he's going to sift the house of Israel among all nations. Okay, let's break the word down. Israel is Yisrael, house is Beit, so it's saying house Israel. Among all, let's break that down. It doesn't say among all, they edited it in, it says all. So it's Beit Yisrael, call, house Israel, all. Goyim, and that's it. Okay? So, amongst, it says all nations, call Goyim. I mean, so you're about to see a fantastically catastrophic event take place in the world. I'll elaborate, and a lot of people are going to reject me, which is the story of my life with the teaching ministry, which I've been doing, I don't know, 12 years or something. Jeremiah 30, verse 1. The word that came to Yeremahu is his name, or Jeremiah in English. There's no J in Hebrew, by the way. From Jehovah, saying. There's also no th sound, like math. It would be net. They have a sharp T where you have th. They put a sharp T, like strength. We can't really pronounce that. Okay, saying, thus speaketh Jehovah Elohim Yisrael, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. The word is safer. It's more likely a scroll. The Guggenheim press was not around when this was written. It's a scroll, probably an animal skin or some type of parchment or something like that, with ink, possibly, some feather thing or whatever they were writing with ink. For lo, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, said Israel and Judah, which totals the 12 tribes. What's here now is Judah, which consists of Judah and Levi. Oh, there's a little bit of a couple other tribes here, maybe Benjamin, but it's predominantly, overwhelmingly, Judah and Levi. So you could say the Levites here are Judah's Levites if you wanted to word things that way, I guess. They're really Jehovah's Levites. But saith Jehovah that I will bring again the captivity. Well, that's a word that really doesn't occur in English. It's like exile or something, but it's a reverse. Bring again means bring them back to the land. Okay? Go into captivity means leave the land. Bring again captivity means to return to the land. Of my people Israel and Judah, saith Jehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. This is the land from the Euphrates to the Nile in Genesis 15. Okay? It's about 100 times bigger than what we have now. It's 2/3 of Turkey to the west of the Euphrates, a big piece of Iraq and a big piece of Syria to the west of the Euphrates, all of Lebanon, all of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE or Dubai, same thing, I think. Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, which is Edom in the Bible, and Egypt to the east of the Nile River, Sudan and South Sudan, east of the Nile River, Uganda and Kenya, east of the Nile River, and Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti. I think that covers it. And those are the countries giving us trouble today, aren't they? Uh-huh. Not all of them at this point, but like Kenya and Uganda are not acting up. Sudan and South Sudan maybe got a big mouth, but Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, they're not acting up. Okay. And I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Well, this is really predominantly for the heathen, I think. And where do we get this up? Well, this is talking about Jacob's trouble, which is great, but he shall be saved out of it. And that's not Gog and Magog. They're not all saved out of Gog and Magog. But in Zechariah 12, the surviving ones that God didn't burn up for being evil do all make it. So in Zechariah 12:1, it says, the burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto who? The trembling word is there. That's, I would assume, the cup of the wrath of the Lord. Unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Now, curious, when we look at the nations of Psalm 83, which I'll read you a list in a moment, it's a excellent match, and I will be reading it in a moment. It mentions in Psalm 83 Edom, which is Yemen, Ishmaelites, which are the general Arabs, because they're mingled into different countries, like Hezbollah, Lebanese, or in Syria or in Iraq, stuff like that, right? Okay. Moab, which is south, and I also say central Jordan, and Hagarenes, which is Syria, and HE, new word AI. It's not artificial intelligence, it's an old term. It means Lebanon. Ammon, which is North Jordan, which is the capital of Jordan, is Ammon. Amalek, which is the Sinai Peninsula, the Amalekites in English, Amalekites, which is the Sinai Peninsula, which is the land that Jimmy Carter forced us to give back, that we took in war. Camp David Accord is called. Philistines, which is Gaza. Tyre, that's Tyre, that's in Lebanon. And Asher, which is Iraq. Nations round about, no? I don't favor you the least. You typically come in here and write self-centered posts that are irrelevant to the topic I'm talking about. So I don't respond. That's all it is. I don't take your post down, which I would do if I was really against you. I just don't respond because it's off topic. I can't go chasing rabbit trails and be on the air for 8 hours. I can't hold up for 8 hours. Okay. So now we'll go back to Jeremiah 30. And I was around verse 4 or 5, I think. A voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. So this business with it teaching that the man of sin is going to appear and speak peace, that's not for today. Okay? That's down the road. That's a Gog and Magog thing. Verse 6, Jeremiah 30. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. This is likely the aggressors. They're clutching their guts. They're so scared. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. Why is that day so great and none is like it? because this is the day of vengeance, which is associated with the year of recompenses and apparently precedes the year of redemption. And on this day, all the nations he scattered Israel into, which is all the nations, but God only has 70 nations by his count, will be destroyed. Now, that does not mean all the people will be killed. The nations will be busted up quite severely because they were built up with Satan, the God of this age. And when you hit redemption, the age is over. Day of vengeance is the day before redemption. Alas, for that day is great, so that there is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Saved is Yasha, salvation out of it. Where do we see this in Zechariah 12? Well, verse 6. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood. Now, it's not governors, the word is judges. Okay? And like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour, it's better translated, burn up, all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem remains still inhabited in their own place. That's what it really says. They get lost in the translation there, probably by accident. And that's the two witnesses. Who the heck else is it? You see, judges are also prophets. Now, where does God tell us he's going to use the judges again? Well, in Isaiah 1. We'll start in verse 24, Isaiah 1:24. Therefore saith Adonai Jehovah of armies or hosts, the mighty one of Israel, Ah, I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of mine enemies, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. There it is again. And I will restore thy judges as at the first. Who were the judges at the first? Moses and Aaron. Were they also prophets? Yes, they were. Clearly stated, prophets and judges. And purely purge away thy dross. Okay. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Well, Moses and Aaron had the 70 counselors. That will be done again. Once what was done once will be done again, the judges and the counselors. But these two counselors, Apostle John and Elijah, are quite a bit more powerful than Moses and Aaron. His name's not Aaron, it's Aaron. But in English, it's Aaron. 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 There's a word like that that means a dresser cabinet, but it's an Arnon. It's not an Aaron. It's an Arnon. In case that comes up, don't get confused. And thy counsels as at the beginning, afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed as in year of redemption with judgment, and her converts with righteousness. Back to Jeremiah 30. So what verse am I in? So am I 8? For it shall come to pass in that day, that's the Zechariah 12 term, that day, saith Jehovah hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers or foreigners or aliens shall no more serve themselves of him, like the nations pushing us around all the time. but they shall serve Jehovah Elohim and David, their Melech, David, their king, whom I will raise up unto them. It's not David, literally. It says, David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne. The Bible also says it's elected unto man to die only once. David died. David shall not lack a man to sit on the throne. That's what it's saying. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar. That's your next great Exodus. And thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to salvation thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. For thus saith Jehovah, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. That's referencing their spiritual damage. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. So obviously America is going to turn on us, right? How could it not be the case? All thy lovers have forgotten thee, unless America's not really a lover of ours and they're setting us up for failure in their minds with the surrounding countries. In other words, just lead us on thinking, telling us they're going to back us and then drop us like a hot potato. Or turn against us and do evil in our sight. There's a scripture to that effect in Jeremiah 50:51. They shall seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thy lawlessness, because thy sins were increased. It's the punishment he gave us for 2,000 years for the fathers or our ancestors killing the Messiah, using the Romans as the executioner. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thy lawlessness, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that, so the nations go into captivity. When he destroys the nations, they got to leave their land. And all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee. I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Jehovah, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, or Zion in Hebrew, whom no man seeketh after. But let's go to the beginning of Jeremiah 30, verse 17. For I will restore health unto thee, and will heal thee of thy wounds. Now, where do we see this? We see it in Hosea 6:1 and 2, which I will read. Hosea 6, verses 1 and 2. Come and let us return unto Jehovah, for he hath torn and he will heal us. He hath smitten and he will bind us up. After 2 days will he, Chaya, bring us to life. In the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. That's in New Jerusalem, where he sits enthroned, and we could see him. The 2 days, Peter says, 1,000 years is like a day. It's 2,000 years. So it's approximately, in my opinion, a 2,000 year punishment from the time we killed, uh, well, our ancestors arranged to have the Romans kill Yeshua. So they're definitely complicit as murderers, of course. And that's, what they say, 30 or 33 AD or something. So it's roughly 2,000 years, but then we got to deal with biblical years, not Gregorian calendar years. And the reason I say it's approximately 2,000 years is we're not supposed to know the day or the hour that he appears in the clouds. And this is an approximate figure. Because if it was precise, like the Babylonian captivity, he would say 70 years. But because here he says 2 days, I would assume it's a approximation. Okay, so we don't know the day of the hour. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Jehovah, because they called thee an outcast, saying, it basically, I think, says, he, Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith, you see, Zion is Tion, it means a dry, parched place. That's almost like saying a wilderness, not the same word though. Thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakov's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be built upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. I would assume that to be the temple. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry. And I will multiply them. Well, that, if I was going to take a guess at it, that probably means you would be buying a U-Haul truck full of diapers, just to be playful. And they shall not be few. No. And I will glorify them, and they shall not be small. Now, you have to understand the word small doesn't mean we're going to be Nephilim, 9 or 10 feet tall. It means insignificant. Don't think it's, we're going to be giants. It's insignificant. It's what you have to look at this word as saying. It's sa'ar. And the word, if we were going to be giants, it would say katan. It would say, which would mean small. So, translation issue here. That's all. Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established before me, and I will punish all that oppress them. And their nobles shall be of themselves. And their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. That's their judge. So the judges, the two witnesses, come from the midst of them. So they have to emerge from Israel, from the land of Israel as Israelis. And I can tell you they're both in Israel now, waiting for the light to go green. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me, for who is this that engages his heart to approach unto me, saith Jehovah. I would think it's Elijah or Apostle John or both. And you shall be my people, and I will be Elohim. I'm in verse 23, which is important, but I never hear it really preached about. I preach it a bunch. Behold, the whirlwind, that's a storm or a tempest. Now, a whirlwind could be a twister or a tornado, and when you look at the weather channels about the hurricanes and cyclones and stuff, right? They also go around like that, don't they? Behold, the whirlwind of Jehovah shall go forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of Jehovah shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall consider it. Well, we're in the latter days, and you should be considering it. And that's why we're watching a lot of storms and we're watching the fires. I'm going to take a fast break for 2 seconds and come right back and we'll pick it up. You still got more to cover on the next Exodus. Let's see if my doors are open. No. No. Yep. All right. Let me get into the chat and see if we got any questions. So I do check the chat during the live stream, and I do try to answer questions. Oh, I'm good with questions. Okay, so we go back into Ezekiel 20. Well, you know what? Let's go. Let's go back into 30. We'll go to Jeremiah 31, which is sort of the continuation of 30. Easy to 30, 31, right? Okay. Verse 1. At the same time, saith Jehovah, same time as what we just read, Jacob's trouble, right? Will I be the God of all the families of Israel? That's Mishpocha Yisrael, families of Israel. You could maybe say tribes of Israel. Let me check that word. Yeah, you could say tribes. You could say families, I guess. And they shall be my people. Thus saith Jehovah, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness. Even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. So now we're in the word wilderness, which is midbar, and it's means a wilderness. It could be a pasture land and so forth. It's sort of related. Well, not related, but it's like Sion, a dry, parched place. That's what he calls the land now. He doesn't call it Israel. He calls it Sion, and he also calls it, and Mount Sion is the mountain that'll pop up where the temple will be. And he also calls it Judah and Jerusalem. When the 10 tribes are back in the next Exodus and we get all the land he gave to our fathers, then he begins calling us Israel again. That's redemption. When redemption happens, we become Israel. Again, now remember, Judah is in the land now, but the 10 tribes, Israel is not, because God divorced them. He didn't divorce Judah, which is Judah and Levi, but they did sin and they get punished. But he divorced the 10 tribes. That's why they're not in the land now. Okay? Again, I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O Virgin of Israel. Now, when he calls us Virgin of Israel, that means we got the everlasting life when he appeared in the clouds, and more on that to come. O Virgin of Israel, thou shalt again be adorned with thy tabrets, and shall go forth in the dance of them that make merry. Thou shalt yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant and shall eat them as common things. For there shall be a day that the watchman upon the Mount of Ephraim, or Mount Ephraim, or what does it say, Har Ephraim? Yeah, Har Ephraim, shall cry, arise ye, or you, I would say, arise you, and let us go up to Zion unto Jehovah Elohim. For thus saith Jehovah, sing with gladness for Yaakov, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish you, praise you, and say, O Jehovah, save thy people, the remnant of Yisrael. Behold, I will bring thee from the north country. Now we're into the next great exodus, right? North country, what are we talking about? Well, it could be Lebanon, it could be Turkey, it could be Iraq, it can go all the way up further, and gather them from, oh, what does it say? Country. No, it says from. Let's break the Hebrew down and see what it's really saying. Behold, hine. Yeah, that's not behold. It's here it comes. Hine bo is what it says. So here comes, I would say, it's a better translation. Here comes them from the north. That's one, two, three, four words for one Hebrew word. Um, so it's Hine bo, here comes, and then it just says north. And then the word for country is from. So it's saying from the north. All right. They got it kind of. And gather them from the coasts of the earth, of the land. That can mean the world. It can mean the land of Israel. It can mean the world. And with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child. That means she's actually in the process of giving birth. Together a great company shall return thither. Shall return here or there. What does it say? Here. It's saying here. Uh, the English doesn't go into Hebrew too good, guys. I'm not saying the translation work. I'm saying the English language in general doesn't go into Hebrew that great. They shall come with weeping and with supplications. Will I lead them? I will. No, wait a minute. I get that wrong. They shall come. I lost my place. Give me a second. They shall come with weeping and supplications. Will I lead them? I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not, so they're not going to get lost, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel. See, now he's not calling us, he's not saying I was a husband to Israel. He's saying a father. The word for father is Abba. It means father. A father to Israel. Why? I'll show you. 1 John 3:2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. So it's saying, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is, right? So when does he appear? Well, I'll read it to you. It's back to Zechariah 12, verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So now the Israelites are believers. The Spirit's poured out on them. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son. They shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem. Okay. So first of all, when they killed Yeshua, they stuck the spear inside the water, and blood came out, which some people think is the beginning of the church, which is a decent theory to say the least, but I don't know. Water being the Holy Spirit, blood, communion, the wine, but it sounds like a decent theory, but I don't know. And so they were not mourning Yeshua when they killed him. It says here, all the families in the land shall be mourning him. And this is when they look upon Yeshua in the clouds. He appears in the clouds like the lightning from the east to the west, seated at the right hand of power, which is God the Father, because in Psalms 110:1, it says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. And at this point in time, all his enemies are not yet his footstool, so he's still at the right hand of God the Father. So they both appear. And you read this in Matthew, well, a lot of places, but we can hit Matthew 24, verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man. This is not him returning to earth. This is the sign in the clouds. The sign of the Son of Man in heaven. It's a miraculous sign. And then shall all the tribes of the land mourn, that's Zechariah 12, and they shall see the Son of Man coming. That word can mean appearing, by the way, in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. So you'll hear the trumpet when he appears, because you might be inside sleeping. You'll wake up and then you lift your head up, because your redemption draweth nigh. A great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the one end of heaven to the other. Now this is your harvest in Matthew 13 with the tares and the wheat. Let them grow together, they look the same, and let the angels separate them. That's the harvest. This is the end of the age to come with everlasting life. Okay? And this is a really big event when you read Revelation 1:7. Well, when I click on Revelation 1:7, we'll read it. There we go. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. Sounds just like Zechariah 12:10. And all the tribes of the land shall wail because of him. The wailing is mourning. Even so, amen. It all comes together. You just got to know how to put it together. That's all you got to do. And this is the great hope that the apostles had, because it comes with everlasting life, which is like the way, kind of, sort of, the way people lived before the flood. They went over 900 years. But we'll have a much better life than they had, because we get a double portion. Now, if you're in Yeshua and not of Israel lineage, you're also in Israel. All Israel shall be saved. You never read all the church and Israel shall be saved. It's all Israel. True believer, Yeshua calls his brethren, right? When you did it not to the least of these, my brethren, you did it not to me, right? Okay, brethren. Okay, so Yeshua is a Jew, but his brethren are not Jews, right? Gee, that doesn't add up too good, does it? No. So those that call themselves Christian and resent and hate the Jews, where does that leave them? Not good. Not good. Covering a lot today. I'm thinking, where to go next? 31, Jeremiah 31. There's a lot of good stuff there. Now I got the setup for it now, so you'll absorb it pretty good, I think. Now, what verse was I in? Let's see. All right, 31:9. They shall come with weeping. That's the mourning, the weeping, because they saw the Son of Man. They got changed. They got everlasting life. And what are the implications of that everlasting life? Malachi 4 wraps it up pretty decently. We'll do it in verse 2. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, S-U-N, it's Shemesh in Hebrew, it's Yeshua, arise with healing in his extremities, not the wings. That's where the tzitzit are, the tassels. The woman with the issue of blood for 12 years grabbed onto it, got healed. And you shall go forth, and they have the translation slightly messed up here. You shall go forth and frolic about like calves of the stall. Now you're going to be young again. Yeah. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. That's the bad ones in Israel that got destroyed. Okay. Back to Jeremiah 31, verse 8 or something. Let's see. No, it's verse 9. And they shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the river of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father, Israel. That's why he's calling you a father. Remember, it says you're a new creation in Christ Jesus, and it's kind of puzzling what that means. And you say, well, it's inside your spirit. But now, when you see him, Yeshua, you'll be like him. You're starting to manifest to appear like a son of God. But you don't have the spiritual body yet, and you don't have the eternity life. You have everlasting, which means for an indeterminate period of time. But once you make it into New Jerusalem and you eat of the tree of life and you drink of the water of life, well, it says there's no death in New Jerusalem, so now you're immortal. It also says there's no temple in New Jerusalem in Revelation 21. I don't remember the verse. Hear the word of Jehovah, O you nation, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, and this is also why he refers to you as, O Virgin Israel, because when you get this new body, as you're going to be reading, I'm going to be reading to you in a few more verses, it's different. And it's not the old body that was sinning, spiritual wrongdoing and stuff like that. O you goyim, hear the word of the Lord, O you goyim, and declare it in the isles afar off. How do I interpret the isles, North, South, and Central America? Because they're detached from the rest of the world. Afar off, and say, I guess Antarctica is detached too, but we don't currently have people living down there except scientists and stuff. In the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him and keep him as a shepherd of his flock. 4. Jehovah hath redeemed Yaakov and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion. That's Mount Zion. That's the mountain that the temple will be on. It's not there. When God brings the next temple down, which is not New Jerusalem, I know the difference. He'll also raise up the height of Zion. He'll raise up Mount Zion again. It was dismantled by armies many centuries ago and taken down by his enemies, the enemy armies, and shall flow together to the goodness of Jehovah for wheat and for wine and for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd, and their souls shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance. Now that's Betula. That could mean the young virgin woman. This is really meaning an unmarried young virgin woman. Okay, in the dance, both young men and old together. Now, when it says old men, it doesn't mean they're old, decrepit, and feeble. You have old men dancing. You don't see a lot of 75 and 85-year-old men dancing, do you? No, they're not old again. They're old in that they have the years racked up, but their body is now young again. And they frolic about like the calf jumping out of the stall. For I will turn their mourning into joy and will comfort them and make them rejoice from their sorrow. I will turn their mourning into joy and will comfort them and make them rejoice from their sorrow. And I will satiate the soul of the Kohanim, the priests, with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness. See, they eat the fat in the meat. I do. Leave it at that. Shall be satisfied. I'm a Kohanim. No, you can too. Shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith Jehovah. Thus saith Jehovah. A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel, it's Rahel or Rachel. It's Rachel in the Hebrew. Let me check. It should be the same. Yeah, it's Rachel. It's a chet sound. Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children, comforted for her children because they were not. Thus saith Jehovah, refrain thy voice from weeping and thine eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, saith Jehovah, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. Now, seatbelts and crash helmets go on for this one. They shall come from the land of the enemy. What country has almost as many Jews as Israel does? 6.5 to 6.7 million Jews. America. They shall come from the land of the enemy. Well, does that mean America's one of the many enemies of Israel? It's obvious, isn't it? Of course. Of course. They shall do evil in your sight. Wait for it. And there is hope in thy end, saith Jehovah, but in thy end, that thy children shall come again to their own border. I have surely heard Ephraim bemoaning himself. That's the 10 tribes. Thus thou hast chastised me, and I was chastised as a bullock. I think that'd be like a Texas Longhorn steer or a steer or something. I'm not heavy into agriculture. I think that would be the meaning of steer. I don't know. Unaccustomed to the yoke, turn thou me, and I shall be turned, for thou art Jehovah Elohim. Surely after that I was turned, I repented, and after that I was instructed. I smote upon my thigh, that's making an oath. I was ashamed, yea, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore, my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith Jehovah. That's the 10 tribes. Set thee up way markers. That's, things you put up to show people the path to travel on, right? Set thee up way markers, make thee high heaps. I guess, you'd put the markers on a, build up a little mountain, a little mound or something so people could see it. I'm guessing at that. Set thy heart toward the highway. That's not the interstate. It's the road you travel. They didn't have interstates when this was written, right? Okay. Even the way which thou wentest, turn again, O Virgin of Israel. There it is, the Virgin of Israel, because they have a new body. More on that coming. Turn again. So you're a new creation in Christ Jesus, but it doesn't look that way. But now it starts to look like that. That Isaiah 60 says, "Arise, shine, your light has come. The glory of the Lord is risen upon thee." Arise, shine. That word means emanate forth light, like Moses did when he came down from Mount Sinai, and they had to cover him with a veil. That's how you all will be. Arise, shine, emanate forth light is what it means. Your light has come. Okay, that's why he's calling you virgin. Because now you're starting to look like a son of God, not just inside in the spirit, but in the flesh too. So now you're a virgin of Israel because you have a new spirit and you have a new flesh. How long wilt thou go about, thou backsliding daughter? For Jehovah hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. The only thing I get out of this is they're chasing men to marry him, and there's a shortage of men from the destruction of the nations. And 7 women go to a guy and say, we just want to take your name to avoid the embarrassment, and we'll buy our own clothes and food and stuff. You get into this, and so there'll be polygamy again, and that's one of the ways we're going to multiply mightily. One man and one woman is going to give you every 9 months a child. The other way, every 9 months you'd have 7 children. It's sort of arithmetic, right? Thus saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Yisrael. As yet they shall use this speech in the land of Judah and in the cities thereof, when I shall bring again their captivity. See, they don't speak biblical Hebrew now. They don't really understand biblical Hebrew at all, right? It's a modern Hebrew by Ben Yehuda. But when we get to redemption, then we'll, just like he scattered our language, he'll unscatter our language and bring us all back into Hebrew. Jehovah bless thee, O habitation of justice, and mountain of holiness. That's Mount Zion. And there shall dwell in Judah itself, and in all the cities thereof, together husbandmen and they that go forth with flocks. For I have satiated the weary soul, and I have replenished every sorrowful soul. Upon this I awakened and beheld, and my sleep was sweet unto me. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will sow the house of Israel. I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. And it shall come to pass that, like as I have watched over them to pluck up and to break down and to throw down and to destroy and to afflict, that's the 2,000-year punishment in Hosea 6, verses 1 and 2. Also will I watch over them to build and to plant, saith Jehovah. In those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. But every one shall die for his own lawlessness. Every man that eateth the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. So we're not going to be punished for the sake of our fathers. In other words, if a good amount of the country goes astray, which is likely you're going to see in Ezekiel 38 and 39, you can also read that in Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11 in more detail. But the whole land doesn't get punished, just the bad ones do. That's not yet into effect, so we all still get punished. So the believers in Yeshua or that are in Israel are still getting punished with Israel. That's the reality. He doesn't chasten you the same way as them, but you're in poverty, you don't have your own land and that kind of thing. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will make a new covenant. That's Brit Kadashah, I think it's, yep. I will make a new okay, it says, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers. You see, now, all right, let me keep reading. Not according to the covenant I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. Although I was a husband unto them, saith Jehovah. Hold on a second. I want to just check in the live stream. Okay, back to Jeremiah 31:33. That's where it gets interesting. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel After those days, saith Jehovah, that's probably Hosea 6, 1 and 2, will I put my law, my Torah, in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. Now, this is not the New Testament that the church has, and it's available to Israel too if they want it. The rabbis teach them if they bring it in their house, they'll put a curse on their house, but it's available if you want it, right? I will put my Torah in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, you see. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Jehovah, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith Jehovah. For I will forgive their lawlessness, and I will remember their sin no more. Well, this has never gone to the church. They don't have the law. They actually teach the law is dead, but they don't go around, everybody knows the Lord and all their families. It's not yet happened. Oh, they'll tell you it does, but it makes no sense to say that. Thus saith Jehovah, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Jehovah of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith Jehovah, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith Jehovah, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cut off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith Jehovah. Behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that the city shall be built to Jehovah, from the tower of Hanalel unto the gate of the corner. See, Jerusalem becomes quite a bit larger than it has been now. And the measuring line shall yet go forth over against it upon the hill of Gareb, and shall compass without Goat. And the whole valley of the dead bones, that's from the animal sacrifices, and of the ashes, and all the fields unto the brook of Kidron, unto the corner of the horse gate towards the east, shall be holy unto Jehovah. It shall not be plucked up nor thrown down any more forever. Jerusalem never goes down again. Okay, so we'll go back to Ezekiel 20. And we started in 33, I think. And we'll pick it up wherever we left off. And then it goes in verse 35, Ezekiel 20, verse 35, it says, And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face. Where is the wilderness of the people? I don't know. It's not that place in Jordan where they had carved the facade of the building in rock. That place could hold maybe 200 or 300 people, so you can forget that. That's just a myth. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith Adonai Yehovah. Like as. Okay, let's check the words there. Asher. Which, so if it's, it's likely the two witnesses, Elijah and Apostle John, are in the wilderness with the people coming on their exodus. And it's likely that we'll have the tabernacle again with the glory of God of Israel, because we know we see the tabernacle appearing again in Ezekiel 37, the last three verses, as well as the temple. So Jeremiah apparently hid the tabernacle in Mount Nebo, the mountain that Moses died on, and sealed the cave up until the time that Jehovah shows Israel mercy. And it's with the incense altar and the mercy seat, the Ark of the Covenant. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness in the land of Egypt, so will I plead with thee. Now, the word for plead is worth looking at. It's shafet, and it doesn't exactly mean plead. It's judge. Why they call it plead, I don't know, judge, and then the lawyers have pleadings, but it doesn't work in our modern English. It's judge. Is a better way of putting it. In the wilderness in the land of Egypt, so will I plead or judge you. It says with. There you saith, Jehovah. And I will cause you to pass under the rod. The shepherd's rod, when he has the sheep go in the sheep gate into the pen, he holds the rod out there and he watches who goes under the rod, because he doesn't want goats or hyenas or coyotes or anything like that. Right? Okay. And I will bring you into the wolves, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. Now, the word for bond is maseret. You could say bond of the Brit, the covenant. That's the new covenant that he talks about, where everybody knows him from the least to the greatest. That's the covenant he's talking about. And I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgressed against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that Ani Jehovah, I'm Jehovah. So all the bad ones, the witches, the crackpots, the liars, the cheats, the adulterers, the demon worshippers, and all, they're going to come out of the country for his name's sake, but they're going to die in the wilderness. They're going to take the dirt nap. They're not going to get into Israel. As for you, you're not going to convince them of that. Don't worry, it'll come to pass. Everything he says does. As for you, O house of Israel, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, go you, serve you, every one his idols. And hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you my holy name no more. salute you, my holy name, no more with your gifts and your offerings. So they rip people off, rob people, cheat, steal, sue them in court with lying and false oaths, and then buy animals for offerings and act like they're squeaky clean. Don't work. For in my holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, so that's going to be the highest mountain here, saith Adonai Jehovah, there shall all the house of Israel, that is, call by Israel, it's correctly translated, all of them in the land, only the ones that made it to Israel, serve me. So they're all going to serve him. They shall all know me from the least to the greatest. You get it? Everlasting life, the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man. That's the new covenant. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things. Where does he accept you? In Israel. There will I accept them. I will accept you with your sweet Savior when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries wherein you have been scattered. Those are the countries that got destroyed. And I will be sanctified in you before the Goyim. And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up my hand to give to your fathers, and there shall you remember your ways and all your doings wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed. And then that's probably the warning. You know? And you shall know that I am Jehovah when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, saith the Lord. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face. Okay, that's something that talks about the south. I'm not going to go into that. Let me check the live stream, see what we got. And I don't think we got anything. I had a couple other scriptures I wanted to read to you. Not whole chapters, more scriptures. Let me look what I got. In Jeremiah 17:11, for some reason I wanted to cover that. I'll get there. Jeremiah 17:11. As the partridge sitteth on eggs and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches and not by right shall leave them in the midst at his end shall be a fool. Be an end and be a fool at the end. That's where you see so many rich, famous people. They wind up with Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. You know, the guy from Abbott and Costello wound up that way. Charles Bronson did. Old man Bush did. Lots of the presidents wind up that way. You know, that's how they wind up. And they leave their money. You can't take it with you. The Egyptians tried to take their wealth with them a lot, didn't they? Did it ever get them anywhere? No. No, the stuff was just sitting in the tombs. Never, they never took it to heaven. Hang on a second. I think we got something from. No. We were praying for somebody to do good on a job interview and with jobs, and the person got a job. So I think that's enough for one day. I hope you found this beneficial, and I would like you, if you don't mind, pray for me and my wife Rivka for a peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our birds and dogs that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, the peace of Yerushalayim. Pray that I make better videos and we can answer more questions. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. You know, I was going to do Jeremiah 16 or 17, but it really didn't have a lot to do with the Exodus. It was just putting the emphasis on Shabbat, how you're not supposed to work and you're not supposed to carry a burden. The ultra Orthodox call that carrying. So you're not supposed to like pick up this chair and move it around or, you know, things like that. Now, if you have dogs or cows or sheep, are you supposed to feed them on Shabbat? Of course. You water them and you feed them. Or what kind of Shabbat do they have? Starving and thirsty? Animals get a Shabbat too. They don't do any work if they do work. Now, if your dog, like my dogs, value themselves as the sentinels of our property and nobody can come near it, how do I tell them, guys, it's Shabbat, don't bark at people and everything? You know, you can't. How you can't. You're supposed to observe the Shabbat. The animal doesn't know from Shabbat. Although we have had birds that take a bath every Saturday. I never figured out how they did that. We had it more than once. Birds that do each other. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. They get in their drinking water and flop around on Shabbat. I can't figure that out. So, you know, you're supposed to take a rest on Shabbat, but the apostles and Yeshua did go to the synagogues on Shabbat. So that's how what I'm doing is going to the synagogues, basically on the internet, you know, so teaching. And that's really the big thing, is to, you know, to get a day of rest. So you shouldn't, you know, other scripture says stay in your own place, and the place could mean you go to a village or hamlet, you know. A lot of people like to travel on Shabbat. I don't think that's the best way to observe Shabbat, you know. I think you're better off just hanging out. Now, if you want to go see your neighbor 100 yards away and stroll over there or something, you know, go ahead, you know. But you know, you shouldn't wash the car, and somebody might say, well, you know, I don't wash the car as my regular job. I only do it on Shabbat. No, that's not the meaning. You don't want to do that. That's work. Okay? You know, and you don't want to do work. So, you know, what about sleeping? Is that good on Shabbat? Sure. It's almost the definition, sleeping and rest. So if you had a hammock and you put it under the tree and you went out there with a book, listened to music or something like that, and you just kicked back and dozed off and woke up and thought, yeah, you're fine, you know. What a lot of Israelis do is they like to sleep as much as they can on Shabbat, and Saturday night they go out. We're too old for that, but that's a lot of what they do. They go out, they just sleep during the, but sleeping during Shabbat is nice. You don't have to sleep during Shabbat, you know. But, you shouldn't, like, oh, should I groom my horse for half hour on Shabbat? No, I wouldn't unless there was some emergency thing or something like that, you know. Now, should a mother not cook for the small children they're going to have? But she shouldn't cook because that's her normal job. So she should prepare, in my opinion only, there's no direct scripture for this, that she's probably before Shabbat starts to give people on Shabbat. So one way you used to do this is, if you can, on Friday afternoon, before Shabbat starts, knock off a big meal, set the plates and the table for before Shabbat. Shabbat starts and everybody sits down and, chomps down a very substantial meal, right? Dishes on Shabbat, you want to just maybe stack them somewhere or put them in the sink or whatever, right? As little work as mom can do. And then the next day, what can you eat? You could eat the leftovers. You could have sandwiches made. How hard is it to open a can of tuna bowl with mayonnaise and salt and pepper and garlic, whatever you want to put on it, right? Or make a tuna sandwich on bread with some lettuce, tomato. Real easy. How about a sliced sandwich, meat, cheese, and bread with ketchup or something? Easy, easy, steezy, no problem, right? That, or you could pre-prepare your sandwiches, or you could eat fruit or whole cereal. Not that nourishing, is it? I don't think so. But you could have something like that. You could just simple stuff. And then when the Shabbat is over, well, if it's convenient, you could go out to eat and have a chow down, or you could make something in your house. Go cook a meal when Shabbat's over. Go fire it up and cook. No problem. What's the problem? Nothing. Go cook. So you eat before Shabbat starts, right? Have the table set with the food. And then Shabbat starts. I mean, you could start eating before Shabbat starts if you want to. There's no foul there, but typically they wait. Have a big meal. And you could leave the food out if it's appropriate with the temperature for people to munch on in the evening. And then the next day, you eat simple stuff. You could boil eggs before Shabbat, make sandwiches and put them in plastic bags. You can pour a bowl of cereal. You can pop out a can of tuna or pop a can of sardines, right? You could eat fruit, bananas, peaches, pears, apples, right? Leave that around on the table so you can go munch around, right? You could be stupid and eat ice cream and candy bars, but that's not being wise. I mean, there's better things to eat. Uh, you could do frozen TV dinners, which they don't really have it anymore, but you could do that. I don't know how healthy they are. Um, I wouldn't call for delivery because then you're making work for other people on Shabbat, so I would refrain from that. I wouldn't go shopping on Shabbat. I do it before, and there's so many things you can do. So basically, you have just as Shabbat starts, and then as Shabbat's finished, after it's finished, you have another big meal. And in the meantime, what do you eat? Cold cut sandwiches, pickles, fruit. There are a million different things you could eat. Nuts. You know, and after Shabbat, hit a big meal. Make a steak or a roast or chicken wings or whatever you want. You could also have food delivered before Shabbat, right? And then nuke it or put it in an oven when you want to heat it. So you could order Chinese food, and then when you want to eat it on Shabbat, you just dump it on a paper plate, bring it to the nuke, the microwave, fire it up, and eat it. If you don't want to heat it up, and yeah, you could do that. Just buy it before Shabbat, and you know, nuking it and putting it in an electric oven. It's not exactly work or like kindling a fire, making a fire, building a fire up. That's really kindling a fire. I'd stay off of that one. Maybe if you had an electric barbecue, that'd be. So traveling on Shabbat, I don't think is that great of an idea. You know, walking, okay, go visit people and stuff. Visiting people on Shabbat is not a problem. You know. Now, what if you got kids and you have a swimming pool? Let the kids play in the swimming pool on Shabbat? No, kids play on Shabbat. Is that work? Yeah, ask a kid if playing in the swimming pool is work. Of course not. Or riding a bike. That's play. That's not work. Should you go to the gym and do weightlifting or the weight machines on Shabbat? No, I wouldn't do that. That's carrying, and that's not. No. What if you got a jacuzzi sitting in the jacuzzi? Is that work or relaxation? Relaxation. You know, I wouldn't clean the jacuzzi on Shabbat or anything like that. Playing baseball or volleyball or basketball or football, no, I wouldn't do that. Easy. Don't mow the lawn. Don't wash the car. Don't wash the roof of the house. Don't clean the house unless there's a catastrophe in the house. You know, but I would avoid it. What else? Uh, I wouldn't do the laundry or the dryer or hang close up to dry. Um, that's about it. What about taking a bath or a shower on Shabbat? Well, a lot of Orthodox Jews don't do it. But is that work or labor? Well, kind of, yeah, but if you went and got some food and you got olive oil all over your food and you said, "Oh, you can't wash it off with soap and water," is that work? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's normal work. It's grooming. I think you could take a shower on Shabbat, or if it bothers you, you could shower before and after Shabbat. It's up to you, I think, but I wouldn't say that constitutes carrying or work or anything like that. It's just grooming. What about a woman doing her nails on her toenails? Well, I think she could wait till after Shabbat for that. Is it exactly work? Probably not, but something maybe better pushed off. I don't know. I don't know. The Bible doesn't talk about toenails and fingernails, so I'm not sure. But carrying is bad. Doing your regular servile work, your regular daily work, you don't do. You don't go to the office and stuff like that. And you don't go shopping, and that's work. And making work for other people, and stuff like that. What about online shopping? I don't know. It's not really making a lot of work for yourself. You're not carrying, and the people that are going to get your order are working anyway and probably won't fulfill it for a day. But it's I guess if you feel funny about it, don't do it. You know. Um, Play it safe. Don't do it, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you. Let's say you drop a bowling ball on your foot and you break your foot. Should you go to the doctor or wait till after Shabbat? I'd go to the doctor. Okay. What if your dog was hurt? Would you take him to the vet? I would. If the dog was really hurt, I would take him to the vet. You know, if you see your neighbor's animal fall in a ditch, you're supposed to dig him out, not let him try to struggle and kill himself, exhaust himself to death because he thinks he's prey in the pit and can't defend himself. So you get him out of the pit, you know. So yeah, I would take the dog or the cat or the bird to the vet on Shabbat if you could find the vet open. In Israel, you'd have trouble. In America or Europe, you probably wouldn't. So, is turning a car engine on kindling a fire? No, that's nonsense. I wouldn't think it is. It's carrying the firewood, doing all the work. There's a big emphasis on carrying in the scriptures. Loads, burden. Okay. Wood is heavy. You know, we had a fireplace. I think we're all out of wood now, but it was, you know, some of these logs that are, you know, this thick, and they're pretty heavy. You carry 4, 5, 6 of them. It's a load, you know. If it's not Shabbat, yeah, carry 20 if you can, you know. But on Shabbat, you know, you shouldn't carry. So, does that mean when the fire goes out, you can't pick a log up and throw it in? Well, we did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a fire. And if you didn't have a fire and it was a cold winter day and you had small children, they'd freeze to death, right? Kindle a fire means starting a fire. You don't build the mountain of wood in. We bring the mountain of wood in on Friday before Shabbat and then just feed it into the stove. That's all we did. You know. Is opening your refrigerator and the light goes on in the refrigerator violating Shabbat? No, that's the theater of the absurd. That's the absurd. Is a light bulb a living thing and has to have a Shabbat? It's no more living than your floor, and you walk on your floor on Shabbat, right? What kind of rest does your floor have? It's stupid. What about your bed? You lay on your bed. You know, it's an inanimate object. It doesn't mean anything, okay? A car is an inanimate object. It's not something you let rest. You're supposed to rest, and if you start driving around on Shabbat, is that resting? Well, I'm not a truck driver or a taxi driver, so it's not my regular work. Yeah, but is it really resting, though? It's not really resting. Are you going to drive and close your eyes and take a break for 5 minutes and kill somebody? No. Little kids don't rest, they play. And they're supposed to play on Shabbat, okay? You don't send them out to pick crops or to pull weeds out of the lawn or anything like that. That would be work. If they're going to run around and ride their bike and put on skates and, you know, go in a swimming pool if you have one, you know, that's not work. Not work at all. All right. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And please pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing. Pray for our finances. Our offerings have been running pretty low. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach and pray for better videos. And I am out.